welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope everyone is doing well. If you're new here, welcome to Syndic Diaries, and if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you guys here. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different from what we're used to. I wanted to do a story time. So I've been getting questions on my Instagram of different people asking me how I knew I wanted to do a PhD and how I got here in the first place and what did I do. Have I always known that I wanted to do this? Like, how did I find myself here? I feel like even when I came on YouTube, I just introduced myself, told you guys my name, and I was just like, I am a PhD student. But I never really explained or told you guys my journey to actually getting here. And since also it is Women's Month, I wanted to take this opportunity to basically tell you guys my journey, and hopefully that is going to help one person or two. So make sure you grab yourself some popcorn, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, or whatever you want to drink, and just sit yourself down and enjoy this study time. Starting from the very beginning. So, as a lot of you probably know, or if you're new here, I am originally from Rwanda, so I was born and raised there. So as every African child, when I was little, I wanted to be a doctor. Yeah, if you know, you know. If you're African, you know you have like 4 career options to choose from, and everything else does not exist. Yeah. So because I loved helping people when I was younger, I just thought being a doctor makes sense because you get to help sick people. So our schooling system is a little bit different. So we do like kindergarten and then 6 years of primary school and then 6 years of high school, and then you get to go to college. But so in primary school, you just study all the subjects. And so for high school, as I said, our high school is 6 years, but then they're kind of divided into 2 different sections. So you have like the first 3 years, which are called all level, where you just study everything. And then the last 3 years, you get to choose like 3 different subjects you want to focus on depending on what you want to do in college. So up until my 3rd year of high school, I knew I wanted to go to medical school still because I really, really enjoyed studying biology. And so I was like, since I want to be a medical doctor, what makes sense is choosing like subjects that are going to make it easier for me to get into medical school. So another thing that is a little bit different for us, you can go straight from high school to medical school. You don't have to do anything else. So that was the plan. So when I finished my like first 3 years of high school, I chose to focus on math, chemistry, and biology. And I had a blast because I love biology. I love math. Chemistry, not so much, but I enjoyed all of those things. So when you get into your last year of high school, what happens is first you get to choose like what you would like to study in college before the year ends. That's how they used to do it back in the days. I don't know if they still do it, but back when I was in high school, that's what we would do. And then like at the end of the year, you have to pass a national examination in those 3 different subjects that you chose to focus on. And then depending on the scores you get from the national exam, then you actually get to go into whatever you applied for college. So up until that point, I really genuinely still thought I wanted to be a medical doctor. I'm not even kidding. I think I was also influenced by my older sister because she was already doing medical school, and I'll hear her talking about what they're studying, and I'm like, this is super interesting. So of course, I applied into medical school and passed the national examination. But back in the days, what will happen is like you wait for a little bit, and then when the scores will be out, you know, they'll also tell you like if you got into whatever you applied in. When the national examination scores came out, I got super lucky, and I was among the top students in the country. And if you were among the top students in the country after the national examination, what will happen is you will be offered a scholarship to come study here in the US. So I was among the fortunate. I say fortunate because it's super competitive because it wasn't automatic. We had to pass like some other tests, and so I was lucky enough to be in the people that were chosen to actually come here and be on a full scholarship. So that's how I found myself in the US. So here comes me trying to understand what I wanted to study. Remember, in my head, I am going to do medical school at the University of Rwanda. I had no idea that in the US, if you wanted to do medical school, you can't go straight to medical school. You have to actually like do pre-med first and apply into medical school. So here comes myself. I was like, whoo, 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 we're going to do medical school in the US. Until I asked, I was like, oh, hey, I wanted to do medical school and da da da. And so my advisor at that time was like, oh, okay. So what you have to do is like do like your undergrad in pre-med and then apply into medical school. I was like, sure, send me up. I started my pre-med journey, finished my freshman year, and then when I got into my second year, I was like, wait, I have actually never been in a medical setting on the side of the doctor. I have never experienced what my day-to-day life will be like if I actually decide to go to medical school. So I was like, okay, but we can get the experience. So I went up and went to one of the nurse practitioner who worked at the clinic. I was like, hey, my name is this and this. I am doing pre-med and I want to go to medical school, but I wanted to get a little bit of an experience of what it feels like to be in like a medical setting. Can I come here and do some shadowing here and there? And she was like, oh yeah, sure. Right there, I started shadowing her. So I will go in the clinic, I think twice a week, and just like see patients with her and see like what she has to go through on a daily basis. And then when it would be like summer when there is no school, she will go back to work at the hospital. So I will go shadow her at the actual hospital, not in the school clinic. So as I was doing the shadowing, I actually realized that I did not like it as much as I thought I would like it. In my head, I really did not expect that I was not gonna like it. I thought it was just going to be like that thing that is like, yes, this is what I want to do for my whole life. But it turned out to be like the other way around. And so that was like my second year. It was my sophomore year. So I was like, ooh, yeah, what are we gonna do now? So mind you, this whole time I had no idea that research existed. Yeah, I had no idea that you could be a researcher. I had no idea that you could do what I'm doing right now. I was just there existing. I was like, oh, I do not like being a doctor. What am I gonna do now? And so what did I do? Expose myself to other things that I could potentially see myself doing. So the summer before my fourth year, I again got super, super lucky and I got an internship to go for the first time ever be in an actual research lab. Yeah, you heard that right. It wasn't until my third year of college that I actually stepped in an actual like research lab. So I was working with the professor from Harvard Medical School who had like his lab in one of like the hospitals in Boston. So I spent like my 3 months there in Boston working in the lab, and the lab was solely focusing on genetic research. And so of course when I got there I was like, start from scratch. I don't know nothing. I didn't even know how to hold a pipette. I didn't even know how to like know how much I'm supposed to like pipette up and not. I had no experience whatsoever. When you're doing those type of research as an undergrad researcher, you're usually paired with either like a postdoc, like somebody who has finished their PhD, or paired with the graduate students to just like help you out through all your whole experience, and basically show you the way. So I was paired with this amazing postdoc who just finished their PhD and were just starting out their postdoc and loved teaching, which I got lucky. And so she was like, it's okay, we're gonna start everything from scratch. So she gave me a bunch of papers to read so that I understand the work that they were doing. And then she would start from scratch, like read this paper and then we'll do this experiment. And so, and during every experiment that we would do, she would try to explain to me like what we were doing. So naturally, I'm a curious person. So I'm always like, oh, why does this happen? Why is this? Who is this? And where is that? But up until that time, I didn't know that is something that would be helpful for a career thing because nobody told me nothing. So as I was doing the internship, I will ask her a bunch of questions. So as I'm reading papers, I'm like, why is this like this? As we're doing experiment, I'm like, why is this happening this way instead of this way? Or why are we adding this much instead of this much? So I'll ask her a bunch of questions as we go. And so this one time in the middle of my internship, her and the professor, like the big boss, they sat me down and they were like, can you tell us again what you want to do like after college, because when I first started, of course, I was like, I want to go to medical school. I'm just gaining experience, blah blah. Blah. And so they sat me down. They're like, "Can you tell us again what you want to do?" I was like, "I want to go to medical school." Mind you, I just didn't know anything else existed. I was like, I have no. At that time, I was like, my whole life, I've always wanted to go to medical school. So it made sense to tell them that I wanted to go to medical school. They were like, "Are you sure you want to go to medical school?" And I looked at them like, "What time are you sure?" I was like, "Yes." And then literally the professor was like, do you want to go to medical school, or does your parents want you to go to medical school?" And honestly, I don't think anybody has ever forced medical school on me. I just liked it. My mom has never been like, "You have to go to medical." Nope. I just loved biology, so I was like, that's what makes sense. And so because my sister was doing it, I was like, yeah, no, I could do it. So when they asked me that question, I was like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, what else am I gonna do? I am so thankful because I feel like they saw something in me that I did not see in myself. So they were like, you, when we are teaching you, you ask really good questions. And so we think it will be better, you will be better off doing a PhD. I was like, me? Doing a what? Seriously, that was the first time anybody has ever mentioned PhD to me. I was like, huh? In my head, a PhD was this huge thing that only like great people do, and I was just like, I'm not those kind of people. So I was like, a PhD. So I kept like working in the lab, and I had a blast. I enjoyed it, and so I will remember myself like when I was in the hospital, and I remember myself being in the lab, and I was like, the experience is completely different in terms of how I feel about it. I will wake up every morning and I'm like, yes, I'm going to the lab. I'll enjoy being there. I'll enjoy reading the papers. I know this is kind of sounding very geeky, but so I was like, I'm enjoying this so much. I will read a bunch, like I will randomly read papers that they didn't even assign to me. So I absolutely had a blast in those 3 months. Remember, I am about to be a senior, which means I have to figure out what I want to do after college. I had to know if I wanted to either apply into medical school, which meant I had to do an MCAT and do the applications. If you went through that process, you know how long it is. On the other hand, I just finished this internship, and these two amazing researchers told me that they think I would do so much better if I will go into doing a PhD instead of actually medical school. So I was kind of torn between those two. And then there was my experience of like, okay, I have been in the hospital and I don't think I like it. I have been in the lab and I absolutely love it. I had a blast. So I was just there like, I don't know what to do. And then there was another thing of like, I just done research for only 3 months. And it was in the summer, I was in Boston. So I didn't know if I liked it because of all of those different changes and experiences and all of the good stuff. I was like, I am working at Harvard. So, of course, that also add on to all the other stuff. I'm like, did I enjoy it because of all of this other stuff? Or did I enjoy it because I actually absolutely enjoy it? Mind you, this is my last year. I gotta figure things out. Like, do you know you have 30 minutes? So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I went up to my advisor in college. I was like, this is what's going on. I don't know what I want to do. There's a lot of stuff going on, and then on top of that, make sure I forgot to say that there are people who have went to my college, did pre-med, and from pre-med they went in to do their masters of public health. And so I was like, maybe that's also an option. I went up to my advisor. I was like, hey, I don't know what I want to do. This is what's going on. I really don't know what I should choose. And so she was like, she was like, okay, so you have experience in the hospital, you have experience in the lab. And she was like, this class that is called Introduction to Public Health, you can take it and see if you actually enjoy the class, and then we can go from there. So that way you have like you have experienced all the options that you're looking at, and you know yourself. So whichever one you think you enjoyed more is what you want to do. And so, of course, I took the class and I did not like it. I'm sorry to the public health individuals. I was like, this is not my thing. So you have not applied into PhD programs, which the due date is usually December 1st. You have not done your MCAT. And here you are not enjoying this class. I was just like, oh, now what do we do? In the school itself, there were people who were just taking care of like the labs. So like taking care of the labs, making sure that like when the students have experiments, the experiments are set up and blah blah blah. And I was like, maybe if I do that job, I'm going to actually see if I enjoy being in the lab as much as I enjoyed during my summer internship. So I went to one of the professors who were in charge of that. I was like, hey, can I be part of these people who take care of all of this? And they were like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I started like just cleaning up most of the time, cleaning up the lab. We're taking care of the mice that were being used in different experiments and da 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 da. And so I was like, I still enjoy this way more than anything. I was like, okay, maybe I should actually apply into a PhD. But then I was like, to apply into a PhD, you need more research experience than what I had. Up until that time, I only had the 3 months that I was in Boston and then a little bit of what I was doing at my school. And so I was like, uh, this is what I'm gonna do. Instead of applying straight into all of these things, I am going to like give myself at least a year and work in an actual research lab and see if I'm actually going to like that. I got super super lucky to get this research intern position in another research lab. And the good thing about this position was that it was specifically made for individuals like me who were in undergrad, wanted to get more research experience before they apply into PhD programs. This was my way of first getting more research experience. Then two, I also wanted to understand really what my focus would be if I was going to apply into PhD. I got there and I loved it. It was so nice because like in like the lab itself will get a bunch of people come give talks, and there was just a lot of, I was in an environment that was pushing me more towards PhD, and I actually absolutely enjoyed it. On top of that, we will have like PhD student at, it was a research institute, so we'll also have like PhD student around, so I'll see what their lives look like, I'll talk to them and blah blah. First year, that's when I actually found out that I, for the first time myself, wanted to actually do a PhD instead of anything else that I thought about doing. Fast forward to my second year at in my research intern job, what we would do in my lab, we'll have what is called journal club. If you're in labs, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, it's like you get to like choose a paper, read it, and present it in front of your lab mates, and you discuss, right? So at this one journal club, talking about how different people, like different populations, are more prone to different diseases than others because of their genetics. And I was like, huh? So right after the journal club, I went ahead, Google. I just started like, reading about it. And this one professor kept popping up on most of the searches that I was doing. And so I started reading her papers. I would literally leave the lab and go home and read her papers. One time, the conference happening, and I was there minding my business, doing my work. And one of my lab mates showed me like the people who were supposed to give talks that day. And who do I see? That specific person who was doing the kind of research I wanted to do. Remember those papers that I was reading? The author on those papers was going to be giving a talk at my lab. And I was like, no way. Because I read so many of her papers, I feel like in my head, I'm like, this is a star. I was like, what? She is going to be here at the lab? I was like, no way. So, of course, I went to the talk. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this is the best day of my life. I was so excited. I went to her talk, fascinated. Everything she was saying, I was like, Very, very fascinated. And so again, here goes me. If I tell you this person is a big deal, this person is a huge deal. In my tiny self research intern, I was like, you know what? What's the worst that can happen? I'm just going to email them. I see a lot of people saying like cold email people. I feel like I've been cold emailing my way through life, seriously. So I was just like, I'm just gonna do it. What's the worst that can happen? Die. She won't reply. Who cares? So I emailed them. I was like, hey, my name is such and such. I'm a research intern here, and I loved your talk, and blah blah blah. I was like, I wanted to see if, as someone who wants to do similar kind of research, what can I do like right now to so that I get to where you are, right? Simple. In my head, I'm like, of course she's not gonna reply. She probably gets like millions of emails every day. Tell me why on the next day I went to the lab and I saw her email. She replied to me. And it was the most beautiful reply ever. She was like, oh yeah, it is so nice to meet you. I am still in town if you wanna have lunch and blah blah blah. We can talk over that and like you can ask me all the questions that you have. I was like, a lunch with this person? I was so starstruck. I was like, what am I even gonna say? So of course we scheduled the lunch. I was like, this is my once in a lifetime chance. I have to grab this with my full hands. Went to the lunch. It went so well. So she was like, oh yeah, you can apply to UPenn and blah blah blah. Because it's like, oh yeah, if you apply, you get to do the research that you want to do. I was like, say less. Say less. So as I was saying, I just like prepared myself for the application cycle. Uh, but up until that time, I had no idea that UPenn was an Ivy League. I was like, oh, there goes my chance of doing the research that I wanted to do. Because I was like, ain't no way I am getting to an Ivy League. It's not happening. But then that person who's like, what's the worst that can happen? Actually get rejected. Which is okay. Yeah, I didn't want to reject myself, so I was just like, you know what, I'm just still going to apply. So I applied, I think, into 8 different schools, and here comes the time to actually hear back. I was so surprised when I saw like the message pop up that I was invited to do an interview at PAN. I was like, huh? Me. There comes the decision, certification that I was accepted. If I tell you I have never been happier in my entire life, I was so happy. Thinking about like, oh my god, I just got into an Ivy League. Oh my god, I am going to do my PhD at an Ivy League. Oh my god, I am going to do the kind of research I've always wanted to do. Oh my, it was just a bunch of things happening in my brain. I was super excited. Of course, I called my friend because up until that time, I told my family, my friends, everybody, I'm going to PEN. I'm going to PEN. I'm going to PEN. So fast forward to now, I am a third-year PhD student at PEN. Which is the crazy that it's time to say because oh my god, what a journey. But I'm saying this because every time I think about what would have happened if I would have been scared to actually email that person, nobody would be here. So I'm so glad we're here. I love it. I love what I do. PhD is hard, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say it's easy. Maybe that's gonna be another story time for another time. I think I'm so glad I took that time to actually figure out exactly what I wanted to do instead of just like jumping into something just because. I wanted to share this story not because I just wanted to share the story, but because I wanted to first show other people, especially young women, it is possible. I am a firm believer that representation matters a lot. So I think the moment you see that someone who you know, somebody who comes from the same area as you has done something, I think there's something that clicks in your brain that tells your brain, oh, we can actually also do it. I'm here to show you that just by having an idea or by having a dream and sticking to it, you can actually get so far in life. And another reason why I wanted to share this is I wanted to encourage a lot of people who are still trying to figure out what they want to do career wise to just explore different things. Expose yourself at so many things as you can. If you have a privilege to do so, please do so. Another thing I wanted to say is I feel like in so many cases we want something and we know a person who can help us get to that thing, but we're too scared to reach out because we're like, oh, this person is huge. This is the Beyonce, so like I can't reach out. But learn from my experience. I feel like I have not gotten the courage to actually be like, I'm just going to email this person, whatever happens, I don't care. I wouldn't be here. So I encourage you, if you see something that you want, if you see somebody who is doing something that you would like to do, reach out to them. I cannot stress this enough. I have been doing this my entire life. Reach out to anybody you think might be helpful. If it is a professor, if it is somebody you work with, just go ahead and ask the questions. How did you get here? How did you know this is what you wanted to do for your whole life? Because that helps you out. It helps you understand, like, oh, this person got from A, B, C, D. Maybe I can do this. You don't have to do exactly what they did, but at least by knowing their journey, it is so much easier for you to orient yourself. Yeah. And last but not least is resilience. I feel like, again, as I was talking about the journey, I did not tell you guys like the times where I was like, what am I doing again? The times where I'm like, oh, am I supposed to be doing this? Of course, no journey is just like a straight line, you know, journeys are just like this. So just because there is bumps on the way does not mean you are taking the wrong decision. Any decision you take in this life, there's going to be bumps. But what matters is remembering why you started in the first place, remembering why you went from point A to point B to point C. And so, in everything that you are trying to do in life, be as resilient as you can get it, because that is gonna get you so far in life. Last but definitely not least, no dreams are too big. I seriously cannot stress this enough. So I'm so grateful that I have had people in my journey who have like helped me go from point A to point B to point C and have never, seriously, never made me feel that my dreams were too big. So I am here to show you that your dreams are not too big. I am nowhere near where I want to be in life, but I am so thankful for the journey that I took to get here, and I am so glad that I allowed myself, or my environment have allowed myself to dream big. If you wanna be the next whatever, do not stop yourself. Do not feel like, oh, this is unattainable. It is definitely possible. Dream high, keep your head high, do whatever you gotta do, stay resilient, talk to the people you gotta talk to, and just stay focused. In no time, you will actually see the results of everything that you have been fighting for. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Thank you so much again for being here. I feel like I was talking for hours. But thank you so much for being here. If this video was helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do not forget to do so, and make sure you go follow us on our Instagram. Thank you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.